and they're the ones who are charged. Not to mention drug laws in America, for example, in which if you get caught with drugs, then if you're black or Latino, you receive a longer prison sentence than a white person, particularly for the difference between crack and cocaine. Crack is mostly a ghetto or people of color drug, whereas cocaine is more for the wealthier type of people. They have those differences in laws. It's more white people who get caught with cocaine, and they get less sentence. That's sought to be changed now in America because it's populated with many people of color. And again, with the stop and frisks, more people of color are randomly chosen, you against the wall, in the hopes of finding something on you. And yet, there's more other people, white people in America, in New York, than it is people of color. So it lends to an unbalanced criminal justice system and incarceration. And in the case of the jury, in my case, quite frankly, they were just totally fooled in that on purpose, the prosecution withheld evidence, as I pointed out.
Yeah.
And the witnesses were threatened. So I didn't get a chance to get a fair trial. Not only because I didn't have the money. In America, if you have money, you have a better chance of getting justice. I didn't have money like that. And I didn't have that chance for a good lawyer, much less the fact that the case was not heard in its entirety and truth for a jury. So they were fooled as well.
You said you did a couple of degrees and that you wanted to go to medicine school.
Yes.
So what are you doing today?
Well, today I finished my bachelor's in behavioral science. Last May, I was able to finish that. And now I am considering going to my graduate degree or law school. I have several law school offers, so I'm considering all of that. But for now, I'm mostly working on my civil litigation case, in which I am suing New York City, which, of course, cannot give me back my lost time. No amount of millions of dollars can make up for the amount of time and what I suffered. But at least we're hoping to change the system in one way, as well as give me a chance to live a better life than what I lived in a prison cell. That's what I'm really doing now, as well as going everywhere I can. Everywhere I can. I want to speak around the world. I want to connect with any partners I can to speak at as many different places as I can. It's so important because I want to change the system and make it better. Yes?
Yeah, in your opinion, has the criminal justice system changed anything since 1991 to up to now?
Yes, I mean, we do have the CompuStat, as I told you, the computer programming which allows the collection of information in a better sense. We've also changed identification procedures in different states. For example, New Jersey now orders that police must bring in the witnesses one by one, standing. And that witnesses are not supposed to sit down. You know, different states are doing different things. Each state has its different levels of resistance. You know, I know Germany is made of 16 states within the country of over, 90 million now? And in America, each state out of the 52 states has its own governing powers, even though we're all under a federal system in the same way that Germany is. Yes?
More questions? I have one more. Sentencing policy. I mean, do you think that that's an excessive sentence for the kind of crime? It was murder, of course, but under the circumstances that it was committed. I'd imagine a crime in Germany, if somebody was convicted of such a crime, that they'd receive a far lesser sentence in terms of years. What do you think of 23 years to life for a very serious crime, yes, but committed under those kinds of circumstances, in the lee of fight, not premeditated, without, I would imagine, malice aforethought? What do you think of the sentencing in the United States for crimes such as those, or other lesser crimes for that matter?
Well, it's definitely higher than Germany. You know, Germany, I think, a life sentence is 18 years or so, or something like that, give or take. And in America, of course, you have a guideline, a sentencing structure that each crime has for which you have to get sentenced to within that range. So second-degree homicide in New York State, for example, has a range of sentencing for a judge to give to a criminal defendant of 15 years to 25 years to life. They can go anywhere within that range. And then you have the life in the back, which means that after completing the minimum, say 15 years, you have to see a parole board, and then you have to hope and work for them to let you go, which means they don't have to let you go, because life in the back means just that. What do I think about it? I think, homicide is a serious case. You take a life, that's a very serious situation, and absent any mitigating circumstances, I personally feel that the potential sentence can be appropriate. 15 to 25 years to life if you kill somebody. That's a horrible thing. But when mistakes happen, like the way they do, and you're subject to that, it's a problem. You have so many things that are just stuck in the guidelines. And I also think, of course, that there should be mitigating circumstances, which is why you have the pre-sentence report before you get sentenced, which dictates the background, whether you have drug abuse, whether you have a dysfunctional family, whether you have a prior conviction. If you're a frequent flyer, not on the airline, but in prisons, then, what are you doing back here? So I have to admit, I've become a little bit more conservative because it's horrible to kill somebody.
Happens after you have kids, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you ever hear again from any of the police officers involved in your case? And if you did, would it make a difference to you, like some kind of apology or something? I don't know.
That would have been great. An apology would have been great. And the prosecutor, the arresting detective, Detective Mazanova, or any other detectives who dropped the ball on this case, none of them apologized to me, not the judge, etc. But Justice John Cataldo, who issued this decision, who was not involved in any of the previous proceedings except this one that freed me, did apologize. He apologized on behalf of New York State for what they did to me. And that meant the world to me. That really was important to me, for me to hear that. It really meant a lot.
How much public awareness is going on in the U.S.? I've been living here for 10 years. I'm an American, I'm a lawyer and all that, but I check CNN and I keep in touch. But in your opinion, is there enough awareness about your case and others since you were declared innocent?
Yes, there's definitely public awareness. That doesn't necessarily mean that action is always taken, but the problem has become so prevalent with all the numbers that I've told you as to how deep the problem is, that people in each state know that there's a problem. Moreover, there are innocence projects now established in most United States American states for purposes of trying to address the issue of the innocent in prison. That's how prevalent it's become. Since 1992, you only had maybe 2 innocence projects. Since then, we have almost one in each state inspired by the problem. So there is awareness. In fact, there's an innocence conference now in North Carolina, which we were supposed to go, but I'd much rather be in Germany. Trust me. But there, it gathers people from around the world who network and organize. Well, what are you doing in Singapore? What are you doing in Italy? What are you doing in Nebraska? Different states are connected to see how they can pull together and cooperate and solve this problem. So there is more awareness than ever. The question is, how much is the problem being stopped?
My only comment is, I had a situation in Berlin where I was asked to identify somebody who did something. And again, this happened here in Kreuzberg. I was asked to have my friend join me. And at that point I told the police, this is totally unfair and I'm going to drop my charges. Because I thought to myself, how can you have people discuss a witness lineup in pictures? You have no individual individual thinking, and so I encourage any of you going to the police, please, this is very crucial, how you treat the identification of witnesses. I believe so strongly I had to drop my charges. I couldn't believe Kreuzberg police actually asked me to join my friend and discuss which person did it. So please, even here it happens. I was actually threatened by a police officer that another police officer decided to give me a Beleidigung because I said, F you, yeah? Because the man came over me and started trying to strike me because I raised my voice at him for almost hitting me with his car. Okay? So even your own police, it's all over the world. I worked in the Yugoslavia, in the UN, Kosovo. It's all over the world. So please think about this here in Germany. Police should not threaten a person who's hit by somebody, for example, or told to identify a witness with a group of people. So my point to you is, I'm glad you're here, and please, I hope you can all learn from this in your own country, because it happens everywhere, in Western cultures, everywhere.
You go, sister.
It's about human rights. It's about being fair and civil rights.
Okay, haben wir noch Fragen? Just Councilman, thank you very much again for your lecture. And I guess just going back to your point, I guess we should not think things like that could not happen at all in Germany. There are all functions in police as well. There are problems. Might not be the same problems, but there are problems. I guess you said, okay, be really sensitive to what might go wrong. This is a very important point for every police officer in Germany as well. So, I hope you get one.
And if I may just say one thing.
Yeah, sure.
I finally got used to social media. So if any of you want to follow me on Facebook, I'm happy to be involved. I'm listed as Fernando Bermudez, exoneree and professional public speaker. Auf Wiedersehen.
Meine Hoffnung war bei, wir sehen uns in 12 Uhr.